welcome to episode number 45 of the Songwriter's Couch. If you have not done it by this point in your life, go down there, and like and subscribe. It'll help. It'll help the poor musicians that live in this house to help to be slightly less poor. By your engagement with the videos. And what will also help is you going to our merch store, the Patrick Jaouen Band, and that's Patrick Jaouen, JAOUEN.com. We've got all sorts of cool merch that we'll show you in just a moment. Yeah, we'll put a link in the description when that happens. But on today's show, I'm super excited because we've had a series of amazing musicians on the show, of course, 44 episodes up until this point, and we've saved number 45 for some of my favorites, one of which is in the so-called Patrick Jaouen Band. I'd like to welcome to the show Mr. Andrew Shelton, also known as Andy Shelton, and Thea Cleavland. Oh, man. I almost forgot your last name there for a second. Welcome to the show, guys. I'm sorry. I keep wanting to say Thea Shelton, but, let's save for a later. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So why don't you take a look at the camera, let the people at home know a little bit about yourselves, what you do in my band, or our band, I should say, of course, and then your solo project or separate project, I should say, together.
Yeah, so I play the bass guitar in the Patrick Jaouen Band, and then I also have my own private project with Thea here called Root and Ripple Revival.
Yeah, and I'm Thea. I'm mainly the voice of the band, but I'm trying to integrate Andrew a little bit more into that.
All right.
Yeah.
If I can make that happen, and I am a fellow creative.
Awesome. Do you guys have a website or anything for the band as of yet, or are you just?
We got like a band camp and like.
We have an Instagram that has.
What's the? Do you know
nothing.
what the handle is? What's the handle on the
Root-
Instagram?
Root
Ripple Revival.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll throw that in the description too when we start. All right, so let's get to this wide shot now. Before we get started, I do want to have a little Vanna White moment with Thea here, because we do want to show you some of the cool merch that we have in the store now. So if you haven't gone there, go to patrickjaouen.com/shop, or just click on the shop link on the website patrickjaouen.com. So here, can you cut to that camera? Can you get a closer shot of the thing? So we've got these cool insulated water bottles that all the kids are going crazy about now. I know it's not a Stanley, but it's just as good, if not better, for holding all sorts of liquids, especially on stage, such as what kind of things would you put in that bottle? The
Very appropriate things. Like,
yes,
like Coca-Cola.
a Coca-Cola, adult beverages, perhaps.
Energy drinks.
You could you could put dandelions in there.
Hot tea.
Ooh, hot tea. You could.
It insulates both cold and hot.
I wonder how. I have not put a hot drink in there yet, so we'll see how that goes. But in Thea's hand there, we also have these awesome hats with the TPJB logo on there for you, flat brimmed. So if you want to rock them like a thug, you can. If you want to go 100% gangsta, you can. You can even leave the sticker on there. You know what I mean? Like the cool kids do. As they say, I've back and forth between the flat brim or curving it. Some people like the flat brim.
I like the dad hat.
Yeah, you can do whatever you like with it. There is dad hats available, true dad hats that we could get done. But in your hands there, Thea, if you could show the camera, get a little close up of that. We also have those cool phone cases, and yes, they are custom silk screened, I guess you could say, with the logo on there as well. So go to our website, check them out. It helps the show, it helps the band, and of course, download our music while you're there. Okay, business is out of the way. Let's get down to the fun of it. All right, guys. So let's start it out here. So you have two truths and a lie for us.
Yeah.
Who's going to go ahead? Andy, you're gonna recite them. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go one at a time, real slow, so I can wrap my head around it. As you know, I'm not a very smart man, Andy.
I have
but I
experienced
do
this, yes,
listen.
firsthand.
So yeah.
All right. So first up, Thea and I have known each other for over a decade.
Wow, over a decade. Okay.
All right.
Not been together over a decade. Known each other for over a decade.
That's correct.
The wording. You
Yep.
gotta pay attention to the wording.
Yep.
I know. Say my first rodeo.
All right. Second off, we lived in our car for short periods of time while we were in college.
I could see that. All right. Yeah.
Dirty
What's
hippies.
the third one?
Yeah.
Is there a third one?
And,
Is it Dirty
yes.
Hippies?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that the Peace, Love, and Dirty Hippies?
Yeah. And third,
The music, right? Peace, Love, and Music? Or
yeah.
no? Let's say it is.
Peace, love, and happiness.
Oh, happiness.
Yeah.
The little smiley face, yeah.
That is the
Yeah.
one,
And third, Thea and I have performed together in 3 separate bands.
What are you thinking, Allie? Now that you have a microphone there, you can actually put the microphone in front of your face. Yeah. Which one are you going to? Okay, so the options are...
Let's recap.
Yeah, they've known each other for 10 years. Okay, it's possible.
For over 10 years.
Over 10 years, known.
Oh, I get my follow-up question. How
Yep.
old are both of you?
Oof, you can't ask that
I can ask.
on
it.
national television.
We are the same age.
Same age, so there you go.
We're about 3 months apart. Yeah.
I'd say early teens.
I'm gonna go. The third one is a lie, and they've only done 2 bands together.
Ah, so you're going with only, don't say it yet, so only 2 bands yet. The second one was, though, the living in their car here and there from time to time.
While we were going to college.
I don't even know if you both went to college, to be honest. Well,
Because college has nothing to do with
that is true. Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go.
I definitely could have seen myself living in a car in college.
I'm gonna go. If you're gonna talk, you got to put the microphone away. The one I'm going to go with. I'm gonna go with the first one. I'm gonna say. Oh, but you said over 10 years.
That's why they gave me a roundabout answer. For
I'm
how
gonna
many-
stick
how
with
old they
my first instinct, and I'm gonna go with you guys have known each other less than 10 years.
He's not.
I
good
wish
at this.
Jonah was here. He could do a drum roll. So Thea, you want to do the drum roll? Which one is the lie, guys?
You are both wrong.
Oh, is the sleeping in the car?
We did. We
I mean, I took naps in the car.
yeah. We did sleep in the
So
car.
technically
sometimes,
true.
but not really.
Technically, I
We
got
didn't.
it right.
We never really lived
I
in
was
our
really
car.
broke in college, so that made sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done it. I've slept, fallen asleep, and woken up unknowingly the
Yep.
next day. I didn't mean to do it. So welcome to the show, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
So
Thanks for having us.
we'll also start to talk about the new album we're working on. So we started work. When did we start that? It was early December.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think. Well, the day we were going to start was the 14th, but I think
Yeah.
you and
So
I got
you're-
together a little.
And
bit before
you're kind of semi-producing this one for us too, and doing some of the mixing and the actual recording of it. And
Yep.
let's name this. Let's call out the studio too. What's the name of the studio
that.
there?
Willis Hill Studios.
In what is that area called? Is that called? Is that Fairport or
In
Victor?
Yeah, it's Victor.
In Victor, New York. So Willis Hills Studios, awesome place.
Yep. We have a website.
Yeah, it's cool little studio. So how do you feel about kind of doing that side of it for us, like for our own band? Do you feel like
It's interesting being like one of the players and then
Yeah.
also doing the mixing because you usually don't have that amount of control as one of the players in the band, and I definitely didn't have that when we recorded before. And
Yeah.
I did kind of enjoy the fact that I didn't have control and just leaving it up to Brian Moore,
Yeah.
over at Tone Studios.
Yeah, that's kind of why. So I've said to myself, okay, I got to learn how to mix and master really well, so that I know what I'm doing, or at least I could talk to it when I'm recording
Right,
something.
so that you
But-
know what you want and you
but
know how to get it.
I do feel like giving up that part of it, like the technical side of it, allows you to be a little bit more on like creative
Yeah,
side of
yeah.
it. Sometimes the like technical troubleshooting of doing what you're doing can
Yeah.
get in the way, and you get annoyed
Definitely.
with like, oh, microphone isn't working right. or
Yep.
you're getting a buzzing like was happening before or
Yep,
whatever.
yep.
It tends to like break up the creative thing. So
Yeah.
how many songs we got in there? We're doing what, 6?
We got 6 so far.
We're always going to do a really cool intro thing, like vocal intro thing, and we've got like 5 songs. One, I think, a couple of them have been released, or I've released them previously, but kind of shitty versions of them, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
But how do you feel about what's going on now? Like, how do you feel about the album so far?
I think it's coming along together really well. Jonah has been really good to work with. I'm looking forward to also getting him involved in the mixing.
Yeah,
as
is
well.
he's going to come in and
yeah,
sometime
yeah.
soon, right? And do
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because you're obviously you're doing the recording for us, right?
Yeah.
And you and Thea got your project going on too, and you're recording that too, right?
Yep.
Over there at the same studio. So what got you into like the kind of engineering side of it? Like, when did you start doing that? Was that when you started working there, or was it before that?
Well, so that's what my degree is in. So
I am
was-
going to ask you questions sometimes where
Yeah,
I'm pretending
yeah.
like I don't know these things,
Okay,
but
yeah, no, fair enough. Fair
but for
enough.
the people at home there, yeah.
So I have my associates from Finger Lakes Community College, where we actually both went to college together.
Because we're insane.
Yeah,
Were you also in the music
I
program there?
started in the theater program, and I didn't really vibe with the theater peoples.
Huh.
So I switched to music.
All right. What?
Yeah.
How come you didn't vibe with the theater people? Were they
I don't know. They're just.
a-holes, or they're just too weird? Sometimes theater people are weird, because I
don't
was in the
mind
theater
Weird. I don't mind
It's-
weird,
in
Yeah.
school.
but I don't know.
Was it different? Maybe it was different. You grew up in Rochester.
I grew up in Irondequoit.
Okay.
Rochester, Irondequoit. Yeah, within Rochester. I was never really involved in any of that stuff, so I wasn't used to even doing stuff with the theater kids.
Mm.
So it was like a whole new thing for me. But I always appreciated theater and musical theater because my mother brought us up with a lot of that stuff.
With theater
so.
and stuff. I was when I was in high school, I did a lot of the theater stuff, but I didn't do it. I did it kind of with ulterior motives to it, because I went to an all boys Catholic high school, and so the way that they would fill the female parts of the plays is they would go to like our sister Catholic school or whatever and get people
Yeah.
to be part of the girls to be part of the play there. So it was really the only way I could kind of like interact with girls at the time in high school, outside, in school in some way, shape, or form. So I joined the play kind of to get, to meet girls essentially.
Yeah.
Was the purpose of it. So was it the same for you, Thea, or no?
Well,
Probably.
so for
I would
me-
assume not, right?
No.
Yeah, not
for
the
me,
same motive.
I was an art student all through high school. I was always in the art studio, so I just had nothing to do with any of that stuff.
Were you
I've been bouncing around things since I was in high school.
were you making ashtrays in art class like everyone else, or the pot
No,
pot
but
pipes
the
or
way,
whatever?
the way that I would talk, you would think I was a stoner kid, but
Yeah.
I wasn't. Not yet.
Yeah.
That's all right. So what were you doing? What did you like in particular with art? Was it painting, or it's
I always liked sketching
Hmm.
and doing like self-portrait type stuff.
are you any good? Do you put it out there for
She's
sale?
not gonna say
Is
she's
this
good, but she's
Yeah.
good.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna
I
say
know,
I'm
I know
good,
that good.
and
You got to just say
my
yes. I'm
sister-
goddamn
my
genius.
sister, she's the one with the degree and all that.
Oh, she majored in art.
Yes, she did,
Huh.
and she's still paying for it.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. College is expensive.
But she,
Yeah.
she knows the technical end of it, but she always tells me that I have a good sense for it.
Hmm.
And when I was a kid, my grandmother, she always said to me that I have a good sense for placement.
Hmm.
I know how to place something instinctually.
I feel like that's something that exists too. Even with music, there's a certain, like, some people have rhythm, and then you meet someone where it blows me away. Like, you have no sense of like
Yeah,
of rhythm or melody or like what notes are. It always blows me away. But I think it is in like a born into you type of thing. And the compulsion, I think, to do art or music or things like that. I think that's something that's not it's not like
Not
not
for everyone.
yeah, like it's not for
Yeah.
everyone, but for the people that it is, it's like a like breathing or eating, you know. Do you
Yeah.
feel the same way
I
about
don't
it?
know. I
Like,
think there's different levels of it. You know, I think some people can have like a certain extent of an artistic expression. Um,
what do you think? Are you born with the artistic
I
gene?
think
Do you feel?
I think you can be.
Let me.
For sure.
Well, let me ask. I'll ask it in a different way. How about this? So I once knew a drummer, right? He was a drummer in my older brother's band in high school, and I remember talking to my older brother. I'm like, "Oh, what happened to what's his face? I forget his name now. It's like Mike or something like that." And he's like, "Oh, he like gave up playing drums and music altogether," and that like it broke my brain a little bit because I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you mean like gave it up? Like you just stopped playing music? I just don't understand how I could never be at I don't think I'll ever be at a point in my life where I'm like, you know what? I'm never like maybe going out and gigging, right? Or doing that sort of stuff because that gets old as you get older, but like to just stop playing your instrument and stop.
It feels like you're not breathing anymore.
Yeah, I mean
And
like
it's like you're supposed to be doing it. You're supposed to be constantly learning about yourself and hearing new things and seeing new things. And it feels like if you're not doing that, then it's like, is it even worth living anymore?
yeah, and I mean the liberal arts and music and arts are they're so lucrative money wise,
yeah.
especially as a performer as an artist. It's always so lucrative, you know. Especially in the beginning, you get paid lots and lots of money, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you're
Tons
first
of
starting
money.
out, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I'm being facetious over here, but so I've always found that it has to be like something that you're compelled to do. Like you have to do it. You can't like
Yeah.
you know I can't imagine not. So what got you into then wanting to do music? There was it Andy over here that got you?
I mean, I've always been obsessed with the arts in general, and I mean, I learned from from when I was very young that I can't emotionally process things unless I do something creatively, or I
Yeah.
just get stuck, and whether that's drawing something or writing something. That's just how I get those emotions out. And so it's an important part of how I function.
Do you feel the same way, Andy? Do you feel like there's an emotional thing? Because there are some musicians too that think of it kind of purely almost from like they're compelled to do it, and maybe they're not as emotionally attached to it. Like they really think about the theory and the technical aspects of it a lot.
Right. Like a study kind of.
Yeah, it's like a study into music as opposed like it's almost like mathematics. You know, like they want to
Yeah.
be very technical about it.
Oh, I hate when music theory is mathematical.
But there is some math even to the emotion behind music. You know, like when you create
Some
certain
people think
chord
different than other
progressions,
people, too.
it can create something specific. Like, do you feel like you're more of an emotional, not an emotional player, but like something that it more is like it starts from there as opposed to starting from like the theory. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I've kind of gone back and forth a lot in my musical journey. Just, I think I've definitely recently I've become a lot more emotional
Yeah.
with my playing. But with classical upbringing on piano, a lot of it is just kind of rigorous, and just training and
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I think from a technical standpoint too, I told everyone in the band so far, you're much more technically experienced or technically knowledgeable with regards to like music and theory and stuff like that. Like when Greg's yelling at me to play a E flat major seventh, whatever you want to, what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like
yeah.
like I'm like I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You usually can be like, oh, okay, I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So when you guys write now, because you're writing together too, right? I mean, obviously, when we write in the band, I've talked about that probably, for hours now on this by this point. But like when you guys are writing together, how does that typically happen?
I mean, it tends to be pretty spontaneous. We've tried planning it out before, and it hasn't necessarily worked.
Like to sit down and do a writing session. Like I can't write
yeah.
like that too.
Yeah. So I mean, one of the first bands that we were in, we also formed with her cousin.
His name is Jake Wren.
Yeah.
And he does have some stuff out there if you want to check it out on the socials.
Right on.
So,
Yeah.
we were in a band with him. It was called Loaf or Life of a Fool. It was pretty fun. It was a college folk band kind of thing. We were all going to theory and thinking about music theory and
Very
being
experimental, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so, but what I kind of want to get at, because I want to know how. So I know you're saying it kind of comes out of nowhere, but are you guys usually just kind of sitting around and someone's playing a guitar or a keyboard, or like what's the?
Yeah, I mean, most recently we've been trying to write a lot at the studio, just because you have all these instruments that are available to you, and we've had quite a few productive sessions there where, we just kind of arm a bunch of microphones, turn on all the instruments, and just kind of
Just start playing around.
just
kind
record
of,
it, and we get 2.5 hours worth of music, and then go back later and cut it down,
Yeah,
and then, re-listen to the
Right
the stuff that's worth it, and then kind of workshop it from there.
I used to do that with my older brother, Chris, too, when we were younger, when we were teenagers. We'd sit down, because my dad had like a 4-track Tascam cassette recorder, right?
Nice.
So we'd go down there, and sometimes we'd we redid the entire Green Day album one day, just for fun. Like,
Nice.
let's just record it, And like Dookie, when that first came out,
Yep.
and the Weezer, the Blue Album, or whatever, we did that one too. But
Yeah.
then we'd have sessions, too, where we'd sit down there just for hours and just play and whatever came out of that. And I think a lot of those tapes are lost now, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Like we
of
never
course,
turned
yeah.
around and digitized them when that started to become a thing. And
Right.
tapes don't last now, like
Yeah,
like digital does. But it's cool. So what kind of stuff are you coming up with in the studio? Is it really ethereal, like crazy? Crazy
it
stuff,
depends.
or what's-
It really depends on our mood. I mean,
well, most of the time, I'm all philosophical stuff,
Yeah.
I'm just like
very Jim Morrison kind of poetry.
Morrison-esque, I suppose. Yeah, I think I think that maybe I write a little more within a form of writing. I don't know, what would that be called? I think that he just kind of writes the words, and sometimes the way that it's formatted is.
I gotcha. Yep.
Yeah.
A little more free form, like prose
free
versus
form,
there
yeah.
being like
Yeah.
a rhyme scheme kind of
Yeah,
deal, right?
I feel like I fit more the rhyme scheme usually.
Sometimes with I found like with writing songs too, both kind of approaches to it can work, because I've found like sometimes even a simple song, right? You can say a word sometimes in a way that doesn't actually rhyme.
Yeah.
Like from a
Yeah.
technical standpoint,
Right.
it doesn't rhyme, but it does when you sing it.
Yeah.
So I've learned over the years to be a little looser too with my rigidity on like the lyrical side of it, and
Yeah.
sometimes I'll even when I'm writing something, I'll just sing notes or fake words or whatever, and sometimes I'll hear like, oh, that kind of sounds like this word, and that'll lead me to flesh out the rest of the verse or whatever. Are
Yeah.
you like who's writing the majority of the lyrics in the group? Is it?
Yeah, that's usually me.
Yeah.
I usually write a majority of the lyrics. Sometimes I do like simpler chord progressions.
Yeah.
I'm not the best guitarist, but I can use it as a tool when I'm alone. And I think that a lot of times, having some alone time and having that time to get yourself in a headspace, you can write some cool lyrics and stuff that way. But I don't know if that's how you really work, Andrew.
Yeah. I mean, I prefer to really. I'm most comfortable on an instrument. I mean,
Right.
I've recently gotten a little more out of my comfort zone and into writing lyrics.
You've been trying to write more lyrics.
Yeah.
I've been trying to encourage you.
Well, and
to
we've
be
been
more in the vocal part of
yeah,
the experience.
and we've also I feel like we've been working on just collaborating on lyrics a little bit more. Like especially, I feel like you bring things to the table, and then
I
You
feel
know.
that we don't have as much of your input on the world. You know what I mean? It's all
yeah,
It's all things that are coming from me in my head.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're close, but I'm never gonna get that close.
So lyric writing is challenging because you can even be a great kind of like storytelling writer, but a song is it's such a distillment of an idea of a story, like especially if you keep it to kind of the radio friendly 3 minutes 30 seconds kind of time
Right.
frame, to distill an entire story, especially if it's about like years of someone's life or it's about, you know, some emotional thing, to set that into such a small amount of time with like
Right.
concise lyrics that also rhyme, I think is a very challenging thing to do.
But I mean, you do that with like a painting,
That's true.
you know.
In what way? So what do you mean by that?
Well, a painting can tell a story.
In what way? Expand on that.
Well, a good painting it keeps your eye wandering and discovering new parts of it, and I think that's kind of what a song is too.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know something that you're constantly looking at and finding new things about and new understandings.
Yeah, we have a painting upstairs in the it's Magritte. It's
I think it's
a
above the
painter.
couch there,
Yeah,
right?
it's called The Lovers, I think is the name of it. But it's like they have cloth over their face or whatever. And exactly what you were just saying, when you look at it, you know, I kind of ask people when they come into the house too, like what do you think the significant, like what do you think that means, or what is the meaning behind that? And everyone says something different about you know what it is, which is kind of what you're saying. Like I think leaving a little bit up to the imagination of the person consuming the art, you know, not explicitly spelling out. Which you know nowadays I feel like some of the new music very much is just explicit. You know, not in the way I don't mind cursing and that sort of thing, but it's like so in your face.
Says it how it
Like
is,
there's
and
no
then
nuance
doesn't
to it.
leave anything to the imagination.
Right. Where like there's no room for interpretation of it necessarily.
It's like, okay, you said the word. Now, what are you doing with it?
That's right.
Yeah.
So what are you primarily writing about when you write? Well, start with maybe we'll start with you. When now you're writing some lyrics, are you writing about personal experiences somewhat, or are you? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. I guess so. The one song that I've written pretty much all the lyrics for. You helped me out with some of it, but I wrote it like 3 a.m. when I couldn't sleep and Thea was out on some road trip, and I you were gone, and I wrote the whole thing in I don't know, span of about 2 hours. It's changed a couple times from then, obviously.
Essentially inspired by
Lack
time
of sleep
apart.
and just you know a rush of emotions.
What's that? What's that particular song about? If you don't mind me.
bitter aftertaste, is it?
Yeah, that's what it's called. But yeah, it's just about I don't know, missing Thea pretty much.
I gotcha.
without
okay.
you know
Yeah. Well, that's what I
not
was
so
going to
many
ask. Because
words.
if it's so, when I write something about, like, if it's about a particular experience in my life, I'll tend to blur the. Well, one, I'll change the names for. What is that? What do they say? Change the names to protect it,
for
to
posterity.
protect the innocent or whatever. But I'll also sometimes change what's happened with it, like the actual story,
Right.
sort of, so to speak, so that it
Yeah.
more it can relate a little bit more to more people. Like it's not so specific that it takes people like, I don't know what the hell this guy's talking about.
Yeah. Sometimes I think about just kind of like backing the lens up a little bit.
Yeah, like if you were to hear it without any context of what
Right.
it was written about. Do you do the same thing, Thea? Like, what did your
For me, like I just a lot of times like it evolves as I'm writing it. Like it starts being about one thing, and then by the time I get to the end, I've kind of made it about a lot of things, you know.
And you said you get a little bit deeper with it. Is it about experiences, or it's about just
I
like
mean-
observations of kind of life and the world? And
Experiences, observations. I mean, my first song was about, you know, the passing of someone important to me. But I feel like as I've grown as a writer, it's become more just general life and the things that I'm going through at those parts of my life.
do you actually write about the experience itself, or do you write about what you're feeling about the experience? Does that make sense? So like,
I would say it's more what I'm feeling about the experience, but I like to play with words, metaphors and stuff, kind of say it without saying it a lot of times.
yeah.
You'd be like, yeah, I said it, but at the same time, you don't know if I said it. 'Cause
Right.
I was talking about butterflies.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So we're coming up on the end here of our time together.
Oh no.
Although we will be back together doing band practice, I think on Sunday,
Yeah.
a day from now. But so I ask this of everyone that comes on, right? Because you guys are kind of seasoned musicians, seasoned songwriters at this point, recording artists, all that sort of stuff. And you're young enough, younger than me anyway. And so the music world and the music business and the way that things are done now is very different than when I was kind of growing up and when I was starting to do music. You know, like I was talking about before, there were still cassette 4-track recorders that we were using and bouncing tracks, so you couldn't edit them after the fact, really.
Yep.
And things like that. Like, what one piece of advice would each of you maybe give for someone that's just starting, on their maybe artistic or musical kind of journey? I mean, that's all you do pretty much is music, right? So you teach, you do, you're mixing, mastering stuff, you're in a few bands, that sort of thing. And so, someone that's looking to do music now, what kind of advice would you give them, you think?
Well, to be authentic. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think that there's just too many musicians out there right now. They're just doing it for the paycheck. Or just because that's the only way that they can get any of their stuff out there, and that's sad. But if you're authentic with what you do, then the people will find you.
Yeah, and I think
And who taught you that? Go on, say it.
Who taught me what?
James Dean?
David Bowie.
Oh, David.
Bowie?
So, but also so the authenticity though, I think nowadays too, especially with like TikTok, the amount of attention span that you have to deliver content within is now been reduced to like 10 seconds. If you don't get someone's attention in like 10 seconds, it's you don't get their attention at all.
Yep.
And like part of that, I think sometimes now people are writing for that.
I mean, that's okay. There's a whole craft to that in itself. But
and I think
it's not, it's not the same as being artful about it,
Yeah, and I think there's something to that too. You need to, if you're going to do music as a business, especially be a performer of a writer of some form of music or whatever, you need to be able to sell it too. So you need to be able to look at those formats and be like, okay, is this something that I want to do? I've always felt that those don't really work for the music that we do. I don't think little sound bites of it really portray what we're doing. I think you kind of have to listen at least to an entire song. I'd prefer people listen to an entire album, but to get them to do that is difficult. Like, what do you think about where the music business is now, Andy, yourself, and what would be like your recommendation getting into like doing music as a full-time thing all the time and not getting like a job at Burger King or something?
I think the best advice I ever got was from a professor at Finger Lakes Community College, who just said, "Wear many hats."
There you go.
Like this one, for example. We got to get some Root and Ripple Revival hats.
That's right. You got to diversify your portfolio, as they say, right?
Yeah, and I mean, there's, I've met a lot of people who say, oh, if those who can't do teach and all that. And
I don't think that's true anymore. I think if you're not diversified now as a musician, you're not doing, like we're doing, the podcast, you're doing mixing, you're teaching, music, we're playing in the band, we're doing not only our original stuff, but we're doing also the party stuff now too, where we're, there's just money there to be kind of picked up. We're doing, sync with movies, and we're doing all that kind of stuff too. I 100% agree with that. I mean, when you're getting into music to begin with, I think that could be a little daunting to like, oh, I'm gonna do
Right,
more
yeah, and
than
start
just do
start
it, but
start slowly, obviously.
But I
don't
definitely-
don't stretch yourself too thin. Definitely,
I agree
'cause
with
it's
you.
easy to do that.
So let's do one more round of shameless self promotion into that camera about your guys' band. Again, do you know off the top of your head your hand? This is how I know you're a real musician, too, because
Yeah.
you have no idea even what they are, and you hate promoting yourself because
Yeah.
you're so hesitant to do
Well,
it.
we
But
have
go ahead and tell them.
our Instagram with one single picture on there at the current moment. Maybe we'll put some more up there by the time
perfect.
this gets out. But
That's how you know they're cool because you don't even care to have that many posts on there. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
We're
like
too busy writing.
that's right, too busy making
I don't wanna go
art
take
and music.
pictures of myself.
yeah, and and I don't want to give I don't want to give too much away, but during our studio time, we also formed somewhat of another band.
Ooh.
Can I say the name? Do you want to say it?
You can say it
The-
if you want.
I think this is what we ended up going with, but we ended up we're also forming a garage kind of punk rock
Ah.
band called what Radioactive. What was it?
I think it's raunchy radioactive rats.
I like it.
So yes, I don't know, something like that.
A little RRR.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we're
keeping the art thing.
we're gonna have a lot of different projects with that
Well,
kind of theme.
if you need a really terrible drummer,
All right.
right here, I can keep a 4/4 just standard rock beat the whole way.
Perfect.
It's I mean
Perfect.
that's
Yeah.
punk, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I got you covered on drums, guys.
All right,
Covered on drums.
awesome.
So why don't we do one more Vanna White moment? Because we do want you guys to pick up some of this cool merch, and we got the new album that's going to be coming out. Phone cases, hats, we got hoodies, we got shirts, we've got what else do we got? Water bottles, we've got magnetic things to stick on your car, stickers like back here. We've got stickers. What else do we have? I think we have some other other stuff, but we used to have bikinis and things like that. But go on our merch store, patrickjaouen.com, and I should really change it to TPJB because people have trouble spelling the last name, but it's Jaouen, and again, there'll be the link in the description there, so you don't have to try and spell my name at all. Maybe I'll change my name to Patrick Jones or something like that. That'll make it easier in the long run. And then you'll have to change your name like 6 times. But what's that? Oh, she's telling me to say goodnight now.
Night night.
But I just want to say again, thank you to everyone that's been watching and listening. I know there's been a little bit of a hiatus, but that's because we're in the studio recording this album. We had the holidays coming up, so we're going to have more regular cadence to this. Do we even know who the next? I think it's Monica Ryan is going to be back on because she has a new album that's coming out, or a new single. I forget now, which I think it's a full album she's got coming out. She recorded like 6 albums or something, and is just releasing them in like stages over the course. It's
Nice.
cool, like jazz stuff. So I think she'll be on the following episode after this. This will air on some date in 2025, which I consider to be the future. So we're now in the future. So it'll definitely broadcast in the future because we're in it. But again, buy the merch, help support the show, like and subscribe. There, I think it's there or there. Yeah, hold it in your hands, Andy.
Whoa, where's it going?
There you go.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you got to make
Here,
them
you
work
take it.
for it. Make them work for the like button. All right.
Have fun editing that.
That's right. But thank you. thank you, Allie, for being on the show. Say goodbye to the people there now that you have a microphone. Just say goodbye. Just say goodbye to a little. Just say a little goodbye on the microphone. Just say a little goodbye on the. Just say hi to the beautiful people. They never get to hear your sultry voice on the podcast. Here, say bye to them.
This man is the largest pain in my ass. I love him. I love him. I love him. I'll be back next week.
That's right. She's super mad at me because. All right. So, thank you guys for being on the show tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having us on.
And Andy, why don't we say goodnight, Andy?
Yeah. Good night.
Andy.
Farewell.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for
Auf
watching.
Wiedersehen.
Ooh, I like that. Maybe that could be the closing number of the show.
I did not write that. You cannot use that.
Sing it.
It's
Sing it.
yours as well.
What is it? What is it again? What's the line there? Sing it. Sing it one more time.
Good night, sleep tight, and pleasant dreams to you.
All right, that's going to be the closing of the show from now on. I'm going to cut that audio and turn it into. I'm going to auto tune the shit out of it and turn it into some techno.
Nice.
Yeah, and have that be the closing to the show. But no, really, thank you guys for being on the show. I know we've kind of rescheduled a bunch of times, so I appreciate your
we finally
time
made it happen.
and got it done. So let's enjoy our Friday night and later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.